episode 73. My name is Dave Hunt, and I'm joined by Michael Swick.
Dave, we've been on Discord for about 20 minutes, and you've not pointed out that I got a haircut. And now, I'm going to be pissy the rest of the show. Okay? You did this.
Yeah, but your headphones are pushing your hair all the way forward, so I can't
tell.
my
hair is back, actually, man. You can't even pay that much attention. God.
I got a haircut, too.
Like 30 years ago, right?
We are Digital Days Gaming. We are a weekly show that live streams every Tuesday night, because today's Tuesday, not Monday, even though I don't know what day it is, because I lost power for an hour and a half today. I didn't know if we were going to be able to do this. But we stream every Tuesday on Twitch, twitch.tv/Digital Days Gaming. You can also find the podcast on your podcast services of choice on Thursdays at 6 a.m., just search Digital Days Gaming. You can find it there. If you can subscribe, that'd be super helpful, as well as leaving a review with words. Words always help. Just moves us up in charts, lets other people know about the show, and then obviously, just as always, sharing the show. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Hit that share button on Facebook. Hit the retweet on Twitter. Those help tremendously, more than just liking something or putting a heart on it. Because it'll show up on other people's feeds and other eyes get to see it. So if you could do any of those, that'd be super helpful. There's a bunch of other links in the show notes that you can check out for our Facebook groups and Discords, all that fun stuff, as well as Patreon and Teesprings accounts if you want a shirt, hoodies, any of those things. We can maybe diversify the merchandise over time. But other than that, you can support us on Patreon if you feel so needed. And we have some news to talk about.
Yeah, I would say it's a very PlayStation heavy week. As the last couple weeks we've been very Microsoft focused, unintentionally. It's just how things work out. Last week, I guess PlayStation just decided to bust out all this news almost in retaliation. But let's start off with some Square Enix news. Square Enix did a presentation, Square Enix Presents, and I'm not going to go over everything because there's some mobile game stuff in there, but the highlights are PlayStation focused here. Project Athia is now officially called Forspoken, and this will be coming out next year. We saw this, I believe, the last PlayStation Presents, and people.
Yeah, I still think this was at the Future of Gaming event for PlayStation. This was near the end or the middle. We didn't know what it was at first. I think that when they initially called it Project Athena.
Yeah, that would make sense. So this is going to be PlayStation exclusive when it comes out, or PlayStation and PC. So PS5, PC in 2022. Game looks gorgeous. This is just another Square Enix exclusive game for PlayStation, and this is just how PlayStation, I guess, is going to do things. Of just get third-party exclusives. And that is the way to bolster their lineup, and it probably will work out pretty well because this game looks good. They already have Final Fantasy 16 is exclusive to PS5 and PC, and I believe there's one other game outside of the Final Fantasy 7 exclusivity. Right. Other news in this, they spend quite a bit of time with Marvel's Avengers.
Oh, before you go any farther, yeah. I don't think this game is going to come out in 2022.
No. I think we're going to get the stuff with COVID, I think, is going to delay so many games this year, and we're going to see that bleed into next year. But
I think calling something a year is going to be just like we used to get years ago when they'd say, oh, Q4 2018, and then it'd have to move. Gotham Knights just did the same thing where they initially said 2021. They didn't give us even a quarter, a month, a window, holiday. They just said 2021, and then now all they've come out and said is 2022.
Yeah, and they're basically just going to start going with the thing that Amazon does, where they just put everything at the last day of the year,
December 31st, 2022.
They're going to have to start doing that.
Well, it's the argument. Can you say that? I don't really feel like. I mean, it was, but I don't really feel like Gotham was delayed. Because I'm kind of in the camp of can you really delay something that you didn't date?
But they did say, because their whole thing was Gotham Knights was 21 and Suicide Squad was 22. And now
Suicide Squad's coming out later than 22.
Yeah, it's going to be 23 now because I don't see a world where Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad.
Yeah. I not that I wanted to get off on a tangent, but I am to the point of where I just don't believe a date anymore at all.
There's no one is until that date actually has month, day, it's hard to believe anything. Like when they give us a window.
And then the
or
only
anything,
thing that I can believe, just based on that last thing that you said with it be coming to PS5 and PC, the only thing that tells me for sure is that it won't be on Game Pass.
Yeah, it won't be on Game Pass on PC.
So you're safe to pre-order this, maybe.
For now.
Even though I don't condone pre-ordering stuff a year without a release date either.
Don't pre-order shit at all. Just don't pre-order anything. There's no reason to pre-order
Except for the
anything.
day before.
Yeah. If you want to download it early. Like, that's the only time to do it. And some games don't even have preload. All right. So a decent amount of time with this presentation was spent on Avengers. The two takeaways from this is Black Panther is coming out this summer, which is... There's only a little bit of a teaser. It looked pretty cool. And then after this came out, IGN followed up with Crystal Dynamics and found out the Spider-Man DLC will not happen until after Black Panther. They're currently working on Spider-Man, but don't expect Spider-Man before Black Panther. I kind of saw this coming. I feel like Spider-Man is one of the last DLCs you release for this game because it's only exclusive to one platform. Because it throws.
Well, we talked about how do you weave this in?
Yeah.
Like how do you just like drop a new character in only on a platform with the games as a service?
Yeah, when you have a roadmap of like, here's when this character comes out, here's when this character comes out, and the whole season's built around that character. They can't just drop Spider-Man unless they do literally nothing with Spider-Man other than drop him in the game. But you would imagine there would have to be some sort of story thing like they're doing with Hawkeye and Kate Bishop.
He's still gonna come out like 2 weeks before his season comes out, and his content is gonna be tremendously smaller than a Kate Bishop or a Hawkeye or a Black Panther, obviously.
Yeah, for sure. Then Square Enix spent the one thing they advertised during this beforehand was Life is Strange. There's a couple bits of Life is Strange news. There's going to be a new entry in the series called True Colors. You play as Alex Chen, a girl with the power of empathy. It's going to be interesting to see how exactly they turn that into a superpower and how exactly that will work. The biggest takeaway for me from this is it is going to be chapter-based, but they are going to release it all at one time as a single game. They're not going to do the full episodic experience. The game will still be broken down that way, but we won't have to deal with the thing that me as a life.
You're going to get all the chapters at day one.
Yes, which as someone who enjoys the Life is Strange games, that was always the frustrating thing, is because you would kind of forget between episodes, even though they are significantly better at it than, say, Telltale was in terms of releasing episodic content. But it looks like they learned their, they learned their lesson from doing episodic stuff, and they're going to just release it all as one thing later this year.
I still think this system can, like the way that this system can work similar to how other games like Uncharted used to do it all the time, and it used to, like, as you entered a new area or you finished a cutscene, it would say like chapter 12 or chapter 9.
Yeah.
And then and I think that's great that the games do that, because it's a point where you feel comfortable as the player saying, okay, I can stop for the night. And don't feel like something would be like some storyline thing would be fractured, because it is the most frustrating thing when you're hoping to get over a story hump or get to a point of where you feel comfortable stopping, and you think you're comfortable stopping, and then you come back the next day and or the next week or a couple of days later, and you realize that you were 5 minutes away from an extensive story thing that you're like you're sitting down ready to play, and all of a sudden you get this long cutscene that's like dang, I really wish I would have known that was happening before, because I would have taken the extra 15 minutes before I went to bed, or whatever.
Yeah, Life is Strange is always built like a TV series, so it's always really good. Though that time, sometimes it'd be 45 minutes, sometimes it'd be 2 hours, and it was really hard to tell.
Right.
Usually, like episode 3 or episode 4 would be like the 45-minute one that all the story was in, and then you go to the action episode. So it would be nice that they're still going to keep that episodic tone, but it's just going to be available right away. I wouldn't actually mind, though, because I'm a binge player sometimes with games like this, if they would just do the route of just releasing stuff weekly. Like, have all the episodes done and then just drop an episode every week.
April 1st, April 7th, April 14th or something. Yeah.
Treat it like a season for like a one of those like
Disney Plus or something.
Yeah, just treat it like an seasonal content, and I would probably
because somebody
be more
like
into
you is gonna I think sometimes I haven't played them, but the perception I got from Life is Strange is the building of anticipation, similar to how like TV shows have been doing it with WandaVision and Mandalorian, and just regular network television of where like cliffhangers at the end of seasons, like you get it in April or May and come back in September or October. I think that it kind of allows you to think and to more I don't know if it would be to more enjoy or understand, and versus like, all right, this is, because what are these, like at best I'd be talking 8-hour game probably.
No, that's usually like 5 episodes, anywhere from 45 minutes to 2 hours. So yeah, maybe at most 6 hours.
10?
No,
Okay.
Yeah, like depending on how many episodes, because they've done 3 episodes, 5 episodes, 4 episodes, so like varies.
But so like this is kind of one of those things that you talked about. You could come home from working a morning shift on a Saturday, sit down at 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and be done before at 8.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is great when that happens.
It is, but at the same time, it kind of gives the perception sometimes, especially if something that's maybe trying to tell as cool of a story as Life is Strange tells, of like it doesn't get the. I'm trying to word this right, but it doesn't get the marination it deserves, the time it deserves, maybe the conversations going back and forth, like waiting for the next episode to come out.
Yeah, it loses that water cooler, not that water coolers really exist anymore, sort of thing. It loses that buzz that you get from like a shocking episode. It's just like when everyone just got done with WandaVision, and something crazy would happen in that show, and the first thing you'd want to do when you're done is either get on Twitter or get in your friend Discord or pull up a YouTube video of people reacting or breaking down the episode. And it's going to lose some of that with everything just being out in the, just available. So people are just going to binge it, and people are going to spoil it before you get the chance to finish it. And I'm going to kind of miss that, but I understand why they would want to do this, just to have it all finished, have it all done, and then just go from there. They also announced that Life is Strange and Life is Strange Before the Storm, so the first game and the second game, are going to be remastered for next-gen consoles. Not too much information. Those games could use a touch-up, just because they have aged. Life is Strange was a PS3 game and a PS4 game, so there's a lot of animation stuff that can be improved and some fidelity stuff that would be appreciated.
I didn't realize they were that old.
Yeah, the first one came out in that transition between PS3 PS4, so I think I started Life is Strange 1 on PS3 and I finished it on PS4 sort of situation. So that's coming out. It is going to be included in the Ultimate Edition for Life is Strange True Colors. I wish they showed more footage of what the new game's going to look like, just because I worry, because the last Life is Strange didn't look that much better than the previous Life is Strange games, the one that came out like 2 years ago. So I'm hoping there's a big jump in quality from that.
What's been the cost of these typically at launch? Like, is it a $50 or $60 game, or?
No, I want to say it's always been like
it's like
it's like $10 an episode. So depending on how many episodes, like 40 to 60.
So how much do you think the Ultimate Edition would cost?
I don't know. I don't know how many episodes they said True Colors is, but they'll probably be the full $70.
But for all 3 games, I think that's a good price.
Yeah, it could potentially be good, depending on since it's the Ultimate Edition, if they're going to throw some extra shit in there that no one really wants, then it might cost more. Because they have done collector's editions or Ultimate Editions for these games, and it's always been like, oh, here's new hats for Chloe, and they throw $10 onto the price tag because you could change the outfit, and no one cares about that. So hard to say like what exactly they're going to add to it and what that cost will ultimately be. Other things that popped up in this, they did spend more time with the Hawkeye DLC. Outriders got a new trailer and like some deep dive stuff. We won't talk about that too much. Since that's coming to Game Pass, I'm sure we'll talk.
Yeah,
about
I'm actually
Outriders.
really impressed that they're continuously to patch this demo.
Like, yeah, I mean they want to keep it running.
So,
they it's not going to go away as far as I know, the demo. So
no, it's not going away. But at the same time, like I think it's cool, and I also am kind of worried at the same time because it's like other than you're using it as a beta, great, and you're patching stuff that like maybe some players that you're seeing some of the exploits now to maybe hopefully not have them happen when the game launches. They're going to happen anyways.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting, but it also makes me worry. Like, are they feeling like they're like once the game releases in the wild, like it's kind of done, because again, this is a one and done game that's being advertised and shown kind of as a games as a service, but it's really a at most for any player that enjoys it, it's a 4 playthrough game.
Yeah, it's funny though, because like the developers have been very straightforward of like, this is not a games as a service. Once it's done, it's done. We might do some expansions later, but every time you read an article about it, it is being treated like a games as a service. It's definitely weird. I feel bad for the dev/PR people that are having to deal with like, why are you putting
They're
words?
like, no post content, no post campaign content. Like they've said it. Something I want to circle back to really quick that now that you said it reminded me. Do you think, or did they say, I didn't get a chance to watch this, I've only read a couple recaps, but for Avengers, they're and again, I'm coming from Division Destiny world, the word expansion usually means money. Do you think that Black Panther is going to cost money?
No, because they advertise this game as a whole, like all the things are going to be free because we're going to microtransaction, and I think they added some new currencies to the game again. It's kind of hard to tell. I was very confused we'll talk about what we're playing and watching, but very confused about what's going on, and there's so many games as a service little hooks that pop up while you're trying to start this game up. So as far as I know, all the expansions are still going to be free. It's just, they're hoping they get people to want to buy gear or currencies, because there's like 6 of them in this game. So as far as I can tell, still free expansions. And that was kind of it for the Square Enix stuff. There was a bunch of mobile stuff. Like there's a Hitman mobile thing, Just Cause mobile thing. Lara Croft is in Fortnite now. There's a definitive edition.
Everybody's in Fortnite.
Everybody. I think they added Raven and stuff to it. Tomb Raider definitive Survivor trilogy was announced, but it's just the games. They're not like fully remastered or anything. It's just like here's the latest Tomb Raider trilogy in one pack. And that was kind of it for the Square Enix Presents thing. Not a bad presentation. I feel like this is like a decent build up to like whatever their next presentation is going to be. I believe in the summer, and
it's kind of getting like let's get this stuff out of the way so we can talk about the stuff that we really want to talk about. Not that like any of this stuff is throwaway, but spending the time on the Avengers, announcing a new a new Life is Strange game is great. Going back over like, hey, here's our thing that comes out in a couple weeks. Please play it. I think they covered all the bases like really well. And this would have been, like this essentially what we just saw would have kind of probably been 5 minutes at a Square Enix press conference, and some of the stuff might have been rolled into B-roll.
Yeah, they wouldn't have spent as much time with Life is Strange. Like they introduced the singing voice behind the character. They dove deeper in it. There wouldn't have been the 6-minute Outriders demo and then an update. So I do like this.
Typically, Life is Strange would have been a trailer, and maybe somebody on stage introducing the trailer and saying, all episodes available at launch. That would have been what it would have, versus them having the chance to kind of flesh it out a little bit.
Yeah, I hope we see more of this. I think we will. From publishers, Square will do another one. We know Ubisoft will probably do 2 again in the summer, fall. So this is a nice thing to have, and I'm hoping this is a sign of that we'll get out of that clusterfuck that was last year's Summer Game Fest, where it was just like I think
that's the part that some people were still hoping that they could do what they initially planned. I think that was the hope. Like the pandemic was so new and so like oh, it's only gonna, and I'm not demeaning anybody or ripping anything, but it's going to be 2 weeks and then 6 weeks and a couple months we'll be fine. And then all of a sudden it's not. So
yeah, but I'm really, really hoping that Square will get time to breathe. All these publishers will get time to breathe for their event thing, and we won't get the clusters that we ended up getting. We won't get that PC game show, Guerrilla Collective sort of thing where it's just like, oh, here's 3 hours of just trailers. People are gonna like pull back and just do one show a week or one show a month. sort of scenario. But that was it for Square. And now let's get into our PlayStation block. The next 3 stories are all PlayStation focused. This one is a report out of The Gamer that Sony will close the PS3 store, PSP store on July 2nd, and they will close the Vita store on August 27th, according to their source.
This is a segment where Michael pats himself on the back.
Yes, which happens often enough on the show. Both the patting on the back and also predicting things. But a couple weeks ago, back in February, I was like, I just had a weird feeling like this is the year that they're going to close the fucking store. So I downloaded all my games, and I'm going to probably get an external drive and do a system backup just because I have external drive sitting around. Because according to this story, they're going to shut those stores down and you won't be able to purchase games from the PlayStation 3, PSP, and PS Vita store anymore. No word on if this will disable the download list, which I'm hoping
it won't.
So the only problem is Nintendo's done this with the Wii and the Wii U, where they just shut down a store. You can't even download your games anymore. So there is like a chance that they could go that route. I don't think they will, because your download list kind of lives separately on the PS3 interface. It's under like account management or whatever. But this does mean a ton of games that were out on PS3 are just gonna die. Like digital exclusives will just die when the store shuts down unless you already bought it and have it downloaded. So I usually don't like to include too many like rumors unless it's been like sourced by like multiple different outlets. But the fact that they have days makes me think that they somehow got a hold of something like a press release early, or someone told them.
This has been floating around the internet enough that Sony could have came out and crushed it if they wanted to.
Yeah, they could have crushed it like 2 days ago or whenever this broke, of just being like, hey, that rumor we saw it no comment, this doesn't exist, that we're not doing that, but they haven't said anything, which means we will probably find out by the end of the month or the end of the week that they are shutting those stores down.
Aren't they like legally obligated to like a 90-day notice at least or something? 90
days, which would put them, that would be an April announcement for the PS3 and PSP, but you might as well just announce all of them. Just for reference, the PS3 came out in 2006, PSP 2005, and the Vita in 2011. So you're dealing with consoles that are 10 plus years old that are running a store still.
Okay, so here's my devil's advocate comment to this, of where you're concerned about some of these digital games going away. Like I can't even think of one off the top of my head, but only released on PS3. Only digital.
The last guy got a physical release in Japan. Tokyo Jungle, no, that was in a collection in Japan. So some of these games have all the classic ones that you can think
regardless,
of.
Jump Shooter, A, only was, when Sony was doing great with indies, was only available digitally. I don't think people are going on these stores if this is happening. Like I think that the data like is so finite that they're not going on the store. And I still think, and I don't know this for sure, but if I type a PS3 game into the PS5 store, does it show up?
I don't believe so, no.
But if you do it in the PS4 store, I think it does, right?
I think they killed that.
Okay.
Because
there's a PS3 tab, like you mentioned, there's a PS3 tab on the PS5 library.
Still don't know what that's for, why that exists.
So like maybe there's going to be a state of play coming up where they address this and they start talking about the possibility of being able to play your digital PS3 games on your PS5, maybe. But I would think if they were going to do something like that, I feel like they would give people more than 90 days notice to go purchase stuff. Because I think there's probably some games that people could purchase or would want to have purchased if they know it could play on their PS5. My PS3, I don't even know if it turns on anymore.
Well, mine does, because I told you I went through this journey trying to just download all the games that I wanted onto the system. But it's a painful process. But to your point, they had to have looked at the numbers and looked at the sales on PS3 and were like, the people that are on here aren't really spending too much money, so we're just going to shut the store down and save whatever little money it costs to run that store. I have no idea what it costs to maintain a store, but they must have looked at the bottom line and found a place they can save money, In fact, 3 places they can save money, and they're just going to turn that off. And the download list will probably still exist, because again, that lives in a separate thing. You don't even have to interact with the store to look at your download list, and you'll hopefully be able to still do that. If they kill the download list, I will fucking panic and do a system backup.
All right. So the other thing that I'm also curious about, and again, this is me being a little naive, but you could, I remember you could put PS3 games on a thumb drive, correct?
No, you can back them. You can do a system backup on an external drive.
So I can't take Tokyo Jungle and put it on a 100 gig thumb drive that I plug into PS3.
No, it never had external drive support.
Okay, so even a thumb drive, because you used to be able to move save files that way.
Yeah, you can move save files, but not whole games, because it needs to put an installer. So the only thing you can do is basically do what you had to do when you would buy a new PS3, is you plug it in, you plug the external hard drive into your old PS3, do a system backup, and then just don't, you just keep it as a system backup, and then you use that to restore onto a PS3 if you have to. That will...
Do you... Go ahead. Sorry.
No, that will save your games, your saves, basically it's a whole system backup.
Okay. Do you think that they are maybe trying to improve PS Now, like someone just mentioned in chat, and add these games to PS Now, and then possibly give you the player the ability to individually purchase games that you still have to have like a DRM for?
Nope. I really don't think that they're putting that much effort into PS Now. I feel like they would have done this, and they would have got in front of the messaging already.
Yeah.
Because now we're going 2 days that this has been out.
Yeah. No, I'm throwing stuff at the wall, trying to think about maybe what they're thinking about, because the stuff that I've been reading online is now that, we already have Xbox and PlayStation going in 2 separate directions in terms of how they're dealing with games and software and subscriptions. And, where Xbox is trying to say, hey, you have the disc, or you owned it digitally on 360, you can play it on your series, or go buy it on your series, go buy the 360 game, play it on your series. And then Sony's just we're just gonna draw a line in the sand.
Here's the problem is this is the difference between their leadership. Ryan has a history of being fuck backwards compatibility, it's not profitable, no one actually uses it. And then you have Phil Spencer, who's just preserve the game history because he sees money there.
It's just not a good look for Sony right now, man. And I'm not even somebody that cares about old games. You guys know that about me. Whatever, I don't care. I haven't played a PS3 game in 5 years. 6 years
since you transferred your Destiny data from PS3 to PS4.
Yeah. So I mean, I haven't, I there's a couple times I go back and I start playing something, I'm like, this is boring, I'm done, or this is irritating, and it's just kind of the way I am. And I know that I'm the majority, maybe I'm the minority, maybe I'm in the middle, but I've learned and seen from our Facebook group and our Discord and you and Josh and all these people that some of these things are important. Sometimes people like to have a nostalgia train, that's fine, and it only lasts maybe a weekend or a day or a week for you guys, and that's totally fine. If that's your jam, do what you want. But it's almost like Sony's well, if your PS3, so pretty much in my situation, if I wanted to play a PS3 game that was on my download list and my PS3 doesn't turn on, I'm shit out of luck.
Yeah. It just sucks because some of my favorite games are on PS Now, but I don't want to play it that way. And I also don't have access to those games until I have a subscription. So unless they actually integrate my purchases into which I don't understand why they don't do that. Just
because again, Xbox does it. If you bought the game digitally on 360 and you have the same Microsoft account or 360 account, it's downloadable on your series, right?
What I don't understand,
or if you, like you said, if you go into the store and buy some random disc, a 360 disc, you put it in your Series X, and as long as it's on the list of supported games, it works.
Yeah, and there's 800 games, so there's a good chance it does work. What I would love for this to lead to is just hey, we did integrate your purchases into PS Now, and you can play those purchases without a subscription to PS Now as a way to test and entice me to play PS Now. Mm-hmm. I want to play The Last Guy again. I luckily have it downloaded.
Would you pay for PS Now just to have access to stuff you already own?
No, but that's what I'm saying is to get me to actually stop deleting PS Now, which fucking stealth installs itself every once in a while on my PS4 and PS5, to just be like, hey, instead of like, oh, here's a 7-day free trial that you can only use once. If they're like, hey, you actually own 10 games that are on PS Now, play them on PS Now. Test the service with a game you already own, because there's 800 games on PS Now. So maybe we can get you to buy a subscription based on your experiences playing a game you like and you happen to already own.
Start navigating the storefront. Here's a game that you own that you can download, but right next to it is something else that you might like.
Yeah, that you don't own, and there's no way to purchase it because we shut down the PlayStation 3 store. Like that would be
I don't want to beat the dead horse, but it's just like, I mean, like the stuff that I've been reading just from people that are like, hey man, I've been manning a PlayStation for a long time, but and again, old game is old. They're dumb. They're not dumb, but they're old. They're trash. They're old. You know, like you can't play them anymore. Yeah. You struggle to play them. I struggle to play them. I feel irritated when I play them. I would rather just move on. But I understand and empathize with the people that maybe want to play their game. And you know, I'm also the same person that goes like, everybody's like, oh yeah, physical media, until that disc doesn't read, or until your reader of your discs doesn't work anymore.
Yeah. And I like.
And then I said on Twitter to somebody the other day, what's going to be the first disc-based game that just doesn't work after a firmware update?
There's going to be a lot from the PS4 era that like it's either it requires a day one patch, or I forgot what game it was that when you.
No. I'm just talking about it's just not going to work.
No. Now I'm trying to think of what game it was where you would basically on PS4 you'd put the disc in and then you download 60 gigs. Like there was a game I own that I put the disc in and it was like there's a 60 gig patch, which was basically the game.
Didn't like Red Dead Redemption essentially have an install disc?
Yeah, it had an install disc. So as long as you have that install disc,
and then it had a play disc. So
yeah, but at least you had access to both of those discs. But there have been games where you're downloading a shit ton of files to get this game to be playable.
Well, Nintendo is notorious for this. We just picked up Mario 3D collection or whatever, 35th anniversary collection, and I've noticed that with Mario, and I've noticed it with Bowser's Fury. I put the card in and there's an install that has to happen, and it's there. This has also kind of been a way that Nintendo, you know, back on the Wii days, used to patch some of their games. Like they would upload a patch through like a Zelda game for like, you know, hoping that you'd buy the next Zelda game, and you'll get a patch for a Mario game when they didn't really know how to patch them through the internet. But I'm wondering, worried, curious as to, like, you know, a year down the road, PS4 gets a new firmware update and somebody goes to launch like a disc-based game that they own, and it just doesn't work because PlayStation, it'll say something like PlayStation has lost the license to this game or something.
Which is totally feasible in this digital world that we live in now.
Yes, 100% true. If you don't connect your PS4 to the internet, you won't download that firmware. But at the same time, if you're kind of like somebody, I'm going to use Michael as an example, somebody like Michael that likes to go back and play some of their older games, but still also likes to play relevant games. If you want to play the most relevant game, you need to have, you know, you put the disc in, it says you need to update the firmware, but you don't want to do that because you heard that if you update the firmware, you can't play the last guy anymore.
Yeah.
Like,
no, yeah. And there's
that day is coming.
Yeah. Well, there's also some games, if you don't have the most recent firmware, they won't run because they require it.
Right.
I think PS3 era, there were games that, like some Sony games that came with the firmware update on the disc just to make sure you had the firmware on it. I think it was one of the Uncharted games because I think it was Naughty Dog that, like,
some of the controller stuff though, right?
Yeah.
Like some of like kind of like they like sneaked like controller firmware updates into, not sneaked, but used discs for, you know, firmware updates because they knew that, you know, baby people's internet isn't great.
I might be misremembering this and someone will correct me, but I could have sworn it was a Sony first party game that came with the firmware update on it because it was one of those things where, remember halfway through PS3's lifespan, they unlocked extra RAM. Basically they like loosened up some extra RAM, and some games I think had the firmware on the disc just because they needed that extra RAM to run. I know what you're
talking about,
so there could be instances like that with some older games to where it's just like,
yeah, it's weird, and people are like, I own this. I'm like, well, you do, but you really don't.
Yeah.
Like, it's getting so weird, like the longer and longer we get. And I don't want to go off on a tangent of like people like change, like companies changing movies and all that stuff, you know, but owning a physical disc isn't the end all be all either, people.
Well, it reminds me of some stuff where like there's so many different streaming services out there for movies and TV shows, but there are some shows, if you search where to stream it, there's nowhere to stream it because
I today I searched it. You said ironically I wanted the game announcement last week, and I was just putzing around this morning. I wanted to watch the Turtles, the 80s cartoon is the Turtles. I can buy it on Amazon for like $4 an episode, and there's 10 seasons of it. No, thank you.
But there's some stuff that isn't even available there. There's like some 80s and 90s TV shows that you want to stream it or you want to buy it, and it's just like, no. This doesn't exist on DVD. This doesn't exist on a streaming service. And anytime a store like this closes, and we're going to see more and more of this, technically the 360 store still works. And
because it's the same interface as the Xbox
store.
But
when you go to Microsoft's website, you have to kind of dig down to find just the 360 marketplace. And it is a bitch to like navigate. Eventually that will get shut down.
I'm just more curious though. Like this is, I've been thinking about this a lot lately because we're seeing all these changes in the world. Like, what if like they just didn't say anything, and then somebody just realized 2 years hey, the store doesn't work.
Well, so far they haven't said anything. So
I know, or I'm just saying if a game all of a sudden just gets delisted, like that's
someone would
that's
always
13
find
years
out.
old.
There's someone who's playing. I don't know. I'm trying to think. I think Crash Commandos. I think that's on PS Now, but it's on PS Now. Someone's probably playing it. You go to old online games and there's still people playing it. People figured out a way to hack Demon Souls, the original Demon Souls on PS3 to get the online working again. There's always someone that's willing to do that. There's always going to be a fan of Nickelback. There's always going to be that one person that likes this one specific thing that once they lose access to it, they're going to freak the fuck out. Sony can't get away with that. But it's funny though, the PSP store I thought was already shut down. And you had to use the PS3 store to access the PSP stuff, but apparently the PSP store is running in some capacity. It might be different regions. So that's one of those things.
Well, I think it was still running because couldn't you download PSP games to the Vita?
Yeah. So, but the PS.
So I think you could access it through the Vita store.
Yeah, but
I think maybe they're just looping it together.
Yeah, because I just remember the PSP store I thought was shut down, and then you only could download games through your PS3. Which I guess if you're shutting down the PS3 store, you're therefore shutting down a PSP store, and they're just connecting all that. But that definitely sucks that all this is happening. So download your games. But once they announce this, it's 3 months, and I was already talking with people about hey, what old PS3 games do you want to go through and do a podcast on? And that was before this news came out. Now I'm more motivated to all right, let's find some gems. But that'll be bonus content for us for this channel probably.
Hoping
to play Enslaved as the first one, but I think I mentioned that.
Nice. Awesome.
So the next PlayStation
going
story
from PS3 to PSVR.
So Sony released some images and some information on the new PSVR controllers, which I think me and Dave we were worried about. Are Sony going to take VR too serious? Because it doesn't seem like they are. This shows that, yes, they are taking PSVR super serious, and they announced new controllers. These spear-shaped controllers are similar to what you would find on Oculus and HTC with some of their controller designs. The cool thing with this, it's going to have the haptic feedback and adaptive triggers that you can find on a DualSense controller, which is really nice for the immersion that you can get from this. The thing that got me excited though is it looks like it doesn't look like the controller is going to be tracked by the headset, and this is the first hint that the new VR headset is going to go with a inside out tracking, which the Oculus and HTC do.
Okay, I didn't know what that is.
So it's it's tracking your movements and everything, not with a camera like the PSVR camera, but by different cameras and lights that are in the headset itself, which is how you get a wireless experience, or in Sony's case, with their last PSVR announcement of they're only going to have one cable. So this means that we're likely not going to have to rely on the fucking PlayStation camera and
making sure you have 14 different lamps on in your living room to make sure it works correctly.
Or to make sure the camera is always looking at the fucking light bulb on your PlayStation Move to track you.
But does this also make you think like we might have sensors you have to put in the room?
Maybe. I mean, if they go the full like wireless route, or not full wireless route, but the like the
immersion, like a deeper immersion route. Yeah,
they might not need. I think they're called lighthouses for HTC, where it has different sensors, but you don't. They're not required, but they give you a better experience.
Right, they help.
Yeah. But the inside out tracking is nice because, as much as I like the PSVR, the Move technology is just tacked on, and it's not the most reliable way to play a game. You know, you need perfect light.
We saw it. Yeah, but we saw it all the time during demos. How many demos did you and I go to that I was too tall for?
Yeah, you were too tall for, or like the lighting would be just off enough to like, you lost it, recenter.
I can deal with lighting. You know, that's fine. But if like my gaming area is in, you know, like a smaller space, you know, and or something, like there would be times that I would go to a demo and the guy, there's been one I remember going to at E3 where the guy's like, yeah, man, I'm sorry, like you're not gonna be able to, like he looked at me, he's like, you're not gonna be able to play our demo right now.
Because we put the chair in a very specific spot that the camera can see.
You're too tall.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm sorry? He goes, no, I know it sounds, he's like, but it's just not going to work. Well, I was like, okay.
Especially like PSVR or VR in general is kind of cool in group situations when one person wears the headset. But the problem you would have with outside-in tracking that the PSVR would use, the original, is the camera would be stationary and everyone else is different heights. So you would have to like rearrange every time someone of a different height had to use it, and inside out tracking is doing all the tracking from the headset, so it doesn't have to worry about that, and it's also a little bit more accurate and easier to use. And like the fact that the headset is going to be able to like see the controller means that this is probably how they're going to move with the whole thing, which that one cable thing that they just kind of casually mentioned in their last update makes sense now. Just like, okay, how are they going to just do one cable when you have a camera set up and you have to do all this other stuff? It's just like, nope, one cable, USB-C probably, and you're good to go. Throw the headset on, get to play. This does probably destroy any backwards compatibility with the old PS VR.
Maybe, yeah, I guess, yeah, you're probably right. I was thinking
the motion controls.
Yeah, that's a good call. So then I guess the next thing that I got concerned with when I saw these is... and this is immediately what my head goes to when I see stuff like this. A lot of times we heard them when they first talked about PSVR at the beginning of like good opening price point. Like cost is a concern. Like these controllers are now going to have to come with the box. I feel.
Yeah, they have to.
And the headset is going to this is going to be expensive.
Yeah,
it's going to be very expensive.
So I'm trying to see. I want to say the Oculus Quest 2 prices.
This is going to be like $400.
Yeah, it's going to be $400 again, and I think that's how the last one cost too.
I thought it was $300 or $250 or something.
Yeah, it eventually got down to $200, but I think it was a $400 thing when it first came out. So the Oculus Quest 2 right now is going for $400. So I think that would be a reasonable starting point. I would hope that they want to continue to make it affordable, because Oculus Quest 2 had to work its way down. You know, the Oculus in general has had to work its price point down. I hope Sony would start it at a reasonable price, but they're also saving money with not having to worry about a camera. I'm sure they went through their warehouse of Move controllers from the PS3 era, so they're out of those, so they don't have to worry about manufacturing those.
I mean, I guess the only thing that maybe they could drop this down to $300 or $350 is if they get really ready for it, like they kind of did with PSVR, the first one, and they have like a 10 to 12 game library at launch.
Yeah. Well, this also will
where they're going to be like, hey, you want to buy 5 or 6 of these games, to where the software sells the hardware, and you can sell the hardware at a loss, similar to what they're doing with the PS5, because people are buying it like crazy.
Yeah,
but they're gonna have to show off some really cool stuff.
Yeah, they're gonna have to show off a lot of original games. This does help them though, because PSVR missed a lot of VR games because the controller and setup was so different, and also there was a power difference. So the controllers being similar to what you get on the other VR headsets will help them. It means developers won't have to put so much extra work into being like, all right, let's see if we get this to work on Move, or let's see if we could get this to work on a traditional controller. But yeah, they're going to need a killer lineup.
How do you feel about the possibility of like Moss 2 or Moss Chapter 2 being locked behind PSVR 2?
I think that's the way you have to go. Like, right now, I guarantee there's a chunk of PSVR users that don't know PSVR technically works on a PS5, but you need an adapter. Like, I'm sure there's some...
I need to order it.
Yeah, I still need to order it too, but at this point I'm like, am I really going to use it? But I should just order it just to have it. I think there's
probably be able to eBay that thing pretty soon after that.
I think there's going to be a chunk of people that just don't care and are going to be willing to just upgrade because they want the latest, greatest, best, and Sony proved last time that they're really good at this in terms of comfort.
Yeah, I have a tangible desire to mess with PSVR again
because you have it.
But like but also it's best in a group setting, like you said. Mm-hmm. Like, stop talking and nobody explodes is hilarious if in a group setting. Some of those other games, where I can't think of all of them on top of my head, but like where you kind of hand the headset off around a little bit, or you're playing a game, that it would be fun to play in a group setting. But at this point in time, my wife's like, he doesn't even think about it. I don't think about it because I can't show it off to somebody like, here, check this out. This is fun. This is cool, because they're not coming to my house.
Yeah. Last time I showed off VR was Christmas when I went to my parents, and I was like, hey, here's VR. And that was the first time I opened it in like 6 months. So it does suck though, because we're talking about like Sony just doesn't give a shit about backwards compatibility. I have a feeling the reason they made that adapter for PS5 is so people can bring their stuff over to PS5, but not to be compatible with their new headset.
They're still gonna have that problem of like, I already own PSVR. Yeah, but you don't own this PSVR, so you can't play this game.
I almost think they're gonna need a name change at that point, just because it can't just be PSVR 2. It can, but I don't think that's gonna be great. And in case you're wondering, because I know, Dave, you have a kind of an issue when stuff gets announced kind of this way, of just like, hey, here's a screenshot of the controller. Here, nothing fancy, no games or anything like that. At the very bottom, they said these controllers are going to be in the hands of developers very soon, and I think they just wanted to get ahead of the leaks that will come. Because this will leak instantly. As soon as like the developers have it, there'll be a post on Reddit of like, hey, look at these PlayStation controllers.
Okay, so all right, let me ask the question then. It's March of 2021. And these controllers are going to be in the hands of developers soon. Mm-hmm. And this hardware is supposed to fully come out?
Well, they haven't.
18 months?
They haven't put a date on it. Like, maybe next holiday. Maybe 2022. Okay. We're in 2021. Yeah, maybe 2022, 2023. But we also have that problem that, like, what is it? We're in a semiconductor shortage. Where, like, everyone's fighting for scrap parts right now. And Sony's like, we're going to make more hardware. And it's just like, maybe now is not the time. So we might be like 2 years away from this as opposed to a year and a half. Just because everyone's got to fight for parts.
To your point, though, maybe this is Sony learning like, hey, we need to make this similar to Oculus so that the developers can develop for both. Like, they need to make it easy. They need to help to ease the development. Yeah.
And that will bring, because they missed out on like a decent amount of games, or the games would come, but it would be like a year later and wouldn't be the best it could be because they had to use the Move controllers. It's not me shitting on Move controllers, but fuck, they were serviceable for like an affordable VR headset, but
they did the job, but they were still annoying.
Yeah. Okay, the last bit of news, I think this is the last bit of news, this came out of nowhere, but PlayStation has partnered with a company called RTS, and they have acquired EVO, the fighting game tournament. This was a weird one, because when they announced it, they just kind of, they linked to the SIE.com, not even like the PlayStation blog, they went straight to Sony Interactive Entertainment, and the fighting game tournament is now part of the PlayStation family. This comes like a year where EVO went through a super rocky time period. Obviously, COVID canceled last year's tournaments, but also one of their founders was outed as being a terrible person and a creep. So like Evo almost seemed like it was going to die last year just because it's had to deal with so much shit. And that's where I guess PlayStation and this new company RTS came in and are going to be the financial backbone for Evo, and now they own it. I'm not too sure what the split is between this new company and PlayStation. I would imagine PlayStation, being the money, probably has a higher stake in this partnership. But they immediately announced Evo Online is going to happen this year. It was going to happen last year, but again, the CEO, or not CEO, like one of the founders was outed, so they canceled the online event. But this will be August 6th to August 8th. It'll be open formatted tournaments online for Tekken 7, Street Fighter 5, Mortal Kombat 11, and Guilty Gear Strive. This announcement doesn't mean that the tournaments will be PlayStation exclusive in terms of only games on PlayStation will be here. Though that has kind of been the default thing over the last couple years. It's because it's easier for fighting game tournaments to just have one platform. If you're going to have like hundreds of players coming with their fight sticks, you tell them, come with a PlayStation compatible fight stick sort of thing.
Yeah, it just essentially guarantees the platform. If the game can be played on PlayStation, it's going to be on PlayStation at Evo.
Yeah. So people were quick to point out like, oh, there's no Smash Brothers. And it's like, it's because this is an online tournament and Smash Brothers sucks at online. Like Nintendo doesn't give a shit about their online. So Smash Brothers has one of the worst online experiences. I'm sure Smash Brothers will be back in 2022 when it's in-person tournaments. Because Sony wouldn't buy this and then kill the big...
A top 3 tournament game.
Yeah, a top 3 tournament game that hits ESPN2 when it does the tournament.
Yeah.
They'll just expect there to be a lot more PlayStation advertising on this and marketing, and PlayStation will probably come out with their official fighting stick or something and, really push that as a draw for them. This is just seems like this is...
Or PlayStation will license somebody to make it and then put their name on it.
That most likely will happen. Just hopefully it's not Razer. This is one of those moves that I feel like this isn't a PlayStation move. This is a Sony move, if that makes sense. I know they're all the same company, but I don't feel like this was a move that like the PlayStation brand wanted or needed, but this is a move that like Sony as a brand could be like, well, esports is big. We need our in esports. Let's buy something. And this is the most logical acquisition for them because they're not going to go out there and buy like League of Legends tournaments or something like that because they can't afford it. But,
ESPN has to come to Sony now if they want to broadcast Evo.
Yep. And if they have a game coming out the same time as the tournament, guess what game is going to be advertised like crazy during that tournament?
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, I'd like to your point, like this might have been one of those things where, like, if this didn't happen, like Evo goes away. So this is, this is a good thing for the fighting game community, for the esports community. Like this is fine. Like and I feel like similar to somewhat what we saw with Microsoft and Bethesda, where it appears at least early on that Bethesda is going to be Bethesda. I think Evo's going to be Evo.
Yeah. The only thing I worry about is the fighting game community is super toxic, as we found out last year. So PlayStation, I'm assuming, would have done the vetting, or Sony, before they did this acquisition. I'm just waiting for them to like kind of clean house in terms of like putting a new structure in place for this stuff, because I know, Dave, you didn't follow it too much, but I think we covered it a little bit last year. There's a lot of bad shit in the fighting game scene, or video games in general has a lot of bad shit, but the fighting game scene had its time last year. So I'm wondering in terms of like cleaning up what PlayStation or what Sony is going to do to try and fix things. Smash Brothers is a fucked brand right now because of all the players that got like in trouble last year. So what are they going to do there? Street Fighter has had its issues. So like Sony can't enforce anything specifically with these games, but they can at least enforce who they invite to the tournaments. And if there will be some sort of vetting thing, though open format tournaments mean anyone can join. I just, this is going to be a weird thing for Sony to try and manage, and I'm wondering if that's what the RTS group is there for. Of just they're the ones that are going to have to do the vetting process.
Sony's doing payroll. They're doing management.
Yep. So we'll see what goes on with this, but Evo will continue to be Evo. It just can do it a little bit longer because their future was kind of up in the air after everything that happened last year. But any other thoughts on that, Dave? Because I think that's it for me.
No, I mean I think it's a great thing. I mean, Evo is something, even if you don't pay attention to it, you know it exists. And the couple times that I've seen some of the stuff at PSX, like people really get into it. Like watching some of it live. What was it, like the Street Fighter Championships or something were there at PSX? And like it took the main stage like Sunday afternoon of the end of PSX, and there was a lot of people that were at that PSX because that was going on. Yeah, it was like PSX was the afterthought. It's like, oh, I get access to PSX as because I'm going to the Evo tournament. I'm like, it's PSX with the Evo tournament. They're like, no, it's not.
No, yeah,
like,
yeah,
okay.
It's huge. Yeah.
So, there's already been, with Street Fighter, like I think that like the Street Fighter franchise is probably only going to continue to exist if Sony continues to bankroll it. So I think that this just gives them Sony even more of a foot in the door of keeping fighting games alive.
Do you think because of this move, maybe Sony talks to Capcom and is like, let's bring Darkstalkers back. Let's bring a fighting game back specifically because now we own this tournament. Like we own this brand. Do you think they bankroll something?
I think bringing or trying to develop a game, and maybe I'm reading too much into your question, but I think trying to develop a game strictly with Evo in mind or just with the tournament in mind is grounds for not having a successful game.
Well, no, I don't mean like targeted for that, but just like they go to Capcom and they're like, Street Fighter 6? We have Evo. You want to do Street Fighter 6, or do they?
Yeah. That I see.
Yeah, or
like that.
They go into the back catalog of just like, oh, you guys also own Darkstalkers. You want to bring that back? I mean, we got Evo. We'll bankroll it just so you can be featured.
I could see something like that more happening with the Street Fighter Foundation, though, of them starting to use Street Fighter as purely a fighting game and start to evolve the character trees within the game instead of trying to release another multiple fighting games. I think they would just bring. And I don't know enough about the fighting games to say this 100% for sure, but bring some of the characters, from those fighting games into 1 or 2 or 3 fighting game franchises instead of trying to release 4 or 5 different games.
Yeah, because like Capcom...
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Capcom is sitting on so many fighting games that aren't Street Fighter.
How many of those characters would work in Street Fighter, though?
Some of the Darkstalkers ones might be able to fit, just because some of those have been in Marvel vs. Capcom.
Yeah, I used to play a ton of Street Fighter as a kid. Especially with my older brother, but I definitely got away from it. I dabbled with Street Fighter 5 when it was free on Plus, or I bought it really cheap, I think. It was given to me through Context. But the only memory I have of Street Fighter 5 is Johnny's boy kicking my ass on a regular basis. And he's not even that good at the game.
I'm just wondering if maybe this leads to... like rival schools being revived, Darkstalkers, some of those like smaller popular.
I get what you're saying, but what I was saying is that them owning Evo, I don't think is enough to offset development costs. Like it has to sell.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of just like how they can better utilize, the fact that they're backing it.
No, I agree, but the unfortunate part of like this is the same thing that you could talk about with like sports nowadays, is that like the specialization is so high that I think that and again, this is maybe me being ignorant about the fighting game community, but you're a Street Fighter fighter, you're a professional Street Fighter fighter, you really don't play other fighting games, right?
No.
Like that's your game. Like that's what you do. That's your job.
So Sonic Fox, he won Mortal Kombat and he won Dragon Ball. They usually dabble in multiple games. But there's not many fighting games, so you might have someone who does 3 fighting games, and that's like half of Evo. So there are a lot of, at least the big names, will jump in from different game to game, depending on if they're like similar in terms of styles. You're not going to get any like Smash players that are also good at Mortal Kombat, but you will get people that are good at Mortal Kombat that also are playing like a Guilty Gear or something that's, in that same vein. Just for laughs, PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale 2? If they're not going to do Smash, or they're going to resurrect PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale in their backwards compatible news? No. They're like, we're turning the servers back on, guys. We're going to do it. Specifically on the Vita.
Only Vitas.
Yeah, I was going to say. Yeah,
only Vitas.
Yeah. They're only going to turn on the servers for Vita. All right, that's all I got for news.
All right. Playing and watching. So, based on popular demand from the poll I put on Facebook, we are no longer doing this segment. No, I'm kidding. That was such a lopsided poll. I was like, wow. So if those of you don't know what I'm talking about, I actually initially put something on our Facebook page, in our Facebook group, that was saying like, hey, like, do you really care, like, to hear us say that, oh, we're playing Overwatch or 2K or Destiny or... Yes, I'm just using broad examples. And like a lot of people said, it was like the personalization of the podcast is what I'm here for. And Michael and I had this conversation off air, and I think we were kind of both in the same kind of mindset of like where we're going to like, let's just talk about something that drew our attention newly, not just the games that we always play or that we dabble with or mess with. And, let's talk about something I went back to that I haven't for in a while and it drew my attention, or something that you discovered. And like even some of the comments were like, dude, we don't even care if you tell us that you like drove your kid to school. Like that's the personal part of what you guys want to know. So like that message was delivered. Not that any change was ever being formally discussed. It was just kind of like, I always talk about, I'm always looking at feedback, or looking for feedback in ways that we can do different things. So playing and watching is going to hang around. I just feel bad when I'm in a funk like I am now of where I'm like, I'm either not playing anything, barely playing Destiny, or jumping between like 6 or 7 games. Like even it's getting to the point where my wife is getting on my case about, are you going to play something different? I'm like, I don't know. Like I was stuck at work the other day at like 4 a.m. and that like messes with my whole schedule.
Yeah. You guys, if you're not watching on Twitch, Dave, when he talks about Destiny, puts his hands in his pocket and starts kicking the dirt. Just like, I played Destiny.
So I like, me personally, I feel bad when I'm in the ruts that I'm in now. And some people, like even in the comments, told me like, well, we get in those same ruts. So like it's good to like some people said it's good to know that they're not alone, and that's what they get from us, of knowing that they're not alone. But with that in mind, I did not play very many games at all last week. Talking about
reason.
I put a bunch of pictures up. Like we did a lot of redecorating in our front room after we painted and got a new couch. I had to take the window out to get the couch in. And so like there was a lot of stuff going on. I did, I tweeted it out today. Like I did my Tuesday stuff in Destiny, and that game is doing a great job of telling little small weekly story bits. Is the like the way that they're every Tuesday, or every time you sign in once a week, you're getting new story content that they weren't doing a good job of before. And it keeps me wondering, like we were talking about with like episodic stuff for Life is Strange or WandaVision, or like, oh, what's going on in Destiny this week. And I think that's there, and it's there from a story standpoint with, like even Michael knows from like years ago, like their storytelling was terrible, and it's done like a full like 180. We did pick Owen up the Mario 35th anniversary, which is Super Mario 64, Galaxy, and Mario Sunshine. Playing Galaxy on his Switch Lite, helping him with some stuff, I'm like, this is harder than I remember. Like the spherical planets and moving around and playing that on the small Switch screen was definitely interesting. He's not a super fan of Mario 64 either. He's like, this game is hard. And it's like, and I don't think he's messed with Sunshine yet. So I mean, I helped him a little bit with that. But if you're part of the Facebook group, I think I posted a couple pictures in Discord too. But we did a lot of redecorating, shopping stuff for the house, hanging of art, hanging of pictures. So that front living room is, check the pictures out if you want to. In the last 2 months we've repainted the walls, the ceiling, the trim. We've done some patchwork on it. Just a lot of, there's nothing really in that room that was there prior to COVID. Everything is since COVID has kind of changed because we've spent so much time in that room. over the last.
You're like, if I have to look at these yellow walls one more day.
Oh man, I got rid of so like my wife's like, oh, this is nice. I'm like, it's brown. I don't want it in the. It's like it's gold. It's like there was so much brown and gold in this house, and there still is. And I'm like, ugh, I just want it out. So that's kind of what was going on. I'm still watching like Superman and Lois. I watched one of them today. I think my wife's kind of tapped out on that show. She thinks the potential is there, but she's like I've mentioned before, there's just too many superhero, supervillain storylines going on it for her, versus she just wants a basic Superman story and wants to see him try to raise a family. That's what she was hoping for, and it's not there. And watched Winter Soldier, episide 1 of Captain Falcon and Winter Soldier.
It's okay for me.
I think, yeah, it's okay. Like, I think that this would have benefited from 2 episodes being released at the same time, like WandaVision did. And I definitely was less confused after watching episode 1 than I was after watching episode 1 of WandaVision. Mm-hmm. But there's definitely an interesting dynamic going there. I guess I don't know if this is a spoiler. If it's a spoiler, I'm sorry. I don't want. I was hoping that they would have like Bucky and Captain Falcon and Winter Soldier would have like linked up. I'm more curious.
Yeah, it felt like two different shows.
This is called this.
Yeah.
Like why isn't this happening?
Yeah.
Like,
if we go episode 2 without them teaming up, I'm gonna be like, this should have been 2 separate shows.
I can't even. And maybe this is good from the writing standpoint. I don't even see the possible where they're linking up other than what happened at the end. I'm like, well, I don't want that, like, but I don't see that vision yet. Mm-hmm. And I'm okay with that. There's only 6 episodes of this.
Oh, it's
so I
only
guess
6?
that's why I think it's only 6, but they're longer.
Yeah, this was like
so
50,
I think like time. Yeah, so I think like time wise it might be the same. Because some of the WandaVisions were only like 21 minutes.
Yeah, and they do that stupid Disney Plus thing of like, hey, this is 50 minutes, and it's 10 minutes as credits, and you're just like, you son of a bitch.
And then you're like, is there a post-credit scene?
Yeah,
like,
you always wait.
And then my wife had this desire to she wanted to watch a Fast and the Furious movie over the weekend. Our new couch is great, by the way. There's pictures of that. Again, referencing how tall I am with PSVR, we found a couch that I can fit on comfortably. So our couch is great. We spent some time after we did all the decorating on Saturday. We actually ended up watching Hobbs and Shaw again. It's funny. I hope that there's more of that. Like I enjoy those movies. They're great. My daughter loves them. Like I think my daughter has like a countdown clock to Fast and Furious 9 this May, which unfortunately I expect to be delayed.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to hear that, but she doesn't listen to the show, so I'm safe. And there's just like so. Yeah, just watching those movies. Like I just spent a lot of time, watching some TV. I watched Mighty Ducks 2 one day while I was home, and
the best Mighty Ducks.
My son was at work, and yeah, it's good.
It's the best.
I don't remember which ones. I still like D1, but I haven't watched D3 enough, so I know that D3's. I already know that it like the story they were trying to tell, and that wasn't good.
Yeah, they were the villains in D3, and it's just kind of annoying.
Well, they're going to be it looks like they're going to be the villains in this Disney Plus too.
As long as they punch the little kid that stars in it, I'm fine. Because I don't like the way that little kid acted in the trailer.
Yeah, and obviously the tournament was going on this weekend, so there was just basketball was on in the house a lot. Watching some of the upsets, or if you want to call them upsets, because the seeding is so warped in this tournament. But the bracket challenge, just keeping an eye on it from a community standpoint is fun. But that was kind of the whole weekend for me. So if you'd like to see more pictures, so I've been just messing with a lot of stuff. My office, the living room, like there's just a lot of tinkering going on. So
for me, I did touch Fallout 76, but not enough to really thoroughly talk about it because I haven't really got past where I stopped playing because I put a good probably 15-20 hours into the game originally on PS4. I'm only like an hour or two into it on the Xbox now. I will say it is running significantly better, which makes it for a slightly better time than what I experienced when that game first came out. So I'll probably put just a little bit more time. It didn't immediately turn me off like it originally did.
Did that game get the frame boost?
Yes, I believe it got the 60 FPS boost. So that helps significantly. So I haven't put enough time in to talk about it like thoroughly. I'll probably next week see if I notice anything drastic. But so far, everything feels pretty much the same. Though every Fallout game kind of has the same structure. So even though this one is online, it's hard to distinguish whether it's like, did I play this already? Or am I just getting like a weird Deja Vu effect? Because Fallout games kind of all open the same. Then Game Pass went crazy last week, and as we talked about, they just kept adding shit. So I downloaded Empire of Sin. This is a turn-based strategy game that takes place during the Prohibition era. You get to choose which gangster you want to play. The story kind of shows you Al Capone right away, so I picked Al Capone. It's when he first arrives in Chicago and starts to take people down or take over. It's an RTS, so or not RTS, a turn-based game. So it's a little annoying to play on a controller, but it's interesting enough of going to different businesses and then just basically killing the mob that's there and then taking over that business. And then my favorite thing, the thing I played the 2K games for, the management experience. Of just like, okay, how am I going to get the most out of this speakeasy or brothel? So that aspect of it is interesting. Of just like, all right, if I put more money here, more people here, how will I like build this empire? I like that aspect.
So I can't wait for MLB the show.
And so I'm doing that. Though I might stop playing it and see if it is on Game Pass on PC because it's a turn-based game. You can tell, yeah, it needs a keyboard and mouse. There's so many menu things, and I'm constantly being like, wait, how do I get to this menu if I don't have a mouse cursor? Is it the bumper or is it the trigger? And I'm constantly having to like...
The cool thing is, like, if it does work, your progress should just carry right over.
Typically, yeah. So I should be fine that way. I just have to actually, like, it's the first time I turned on my PC in like 3 days. So I'm going to probably download it on PC.
Does the Series X support mouse and keyboard, though? Have you tried just plugging a keyboard into it?
I think it does support it, but at that point I would just...
But sit at your computer because your living room's not set up for that.
Yeah, I would just download that on PC. Sarah's still super into Final Fantasy 14. My Xbox is actually right next to me on my monitor, so the idea that...
It's holding his whole table up.
It's right here, which I really like because I just been playing the basketball game.
If you're not watching on Twitch, you can't see his hand, but it's like above his forehead.
Yeah, it's here.
No, I'm kidding.
So I am playing the fucking basketball game still, just while she's grinding away in Final Fantasy. That's why I downloaded...
See how easy it is to just veg out and play a game you're comfortable playing?
Dude, work has been fucking terrible with all the hour cuts and stuff like that. So when I get home, I can't even do Final Fantasy 14.
You're mentally drained, and you're like, I just want to play something I don't have to think about.
Yeah, so I moved the Xbox over to the monitor, so while she's playing on the PS5, because... Of the console's portability, the Xbox Series is more portable than a PlayStation. I never want to move that PlayStation because I had to like jam it into the entertainment center to begin with. So still playing random stuff on Game Pass. I did play some Avengers on PS5. I just wanted to try out a few levels just to see how the performance mode works. Performance mode tries to keep it at 60. And it, I forget exactly their wording, but they like upscale to 4K, or it's like dynamic 4K, which means it won't always be 4K resolution.
Like checkerboard or something. Right?
Yeah. It does run significantly better. I only did a couple levels of the story.
You're playing on PS5,
PS5,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
Which
you're paying the PS5 version?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Just clarifying.
Yeah, I know people were like annoyed with how you had to transfer your progress. I'm just kind of used to it because it's like the third game I've had to do the shit where it's like, all right, load up the PS4.
Yeah, okay, but my problem with it is, I'm the one that posted this initially in there, this tweet that they sent out. Like, I posted on the Facebook group. My problem is, like, and I realized this the other day, like, I sold my original launch PS4 to a good friend of mine, and I factory reset it. I don't have Avengers PS4 downloaded.
Yeah, you have. So then if you want to transfer your stuff over,
I have to have both versions of the game
downloaded
on my PS5.
Yeah, you have to download both. So I already had the PS4 one downloaded because I also gave away my PS4 Pro, but at the time,
I'm probably just going to start over because I'm only like 3.5 hours or 4 hours in. At this point, I'm just like, probably just start over.
So I already had the PS4 version downloaded on my PS5 on the external drive. So all I had to do was load that game, hit triangle or whatever it is, and then
boot it. You can boot it from the external, right?
Yeah,
like you didn't have to put it on the.
I just booted from the external, and then downloaded the PS5 one. Save transferred. It's so stupid. I agree it's stupid, but it's not hard.
Whether it's normal, like everybody's like, oh, why doesn't Sony have something fancy called smart delivery? This is why.
Yeah, because we had to do this for Spider-Man.
And it wasn't working. The thing too, like there's a lot
of people
early on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's annoying.
Yeah.
Like it's also like some people are all like afraid now to delete their PS4 version. Like, what happens if something gets corrupted? Like,
it's annoying.
It's just
because
it's just bad.
You have PS Plus cloud saves for the game, and I know I have
that don't work with it.
Yeah, it's stupid that we have to deal with this, and that developers have to spend like resources to be like, all right, let's add to the menu.
And it just looks bad when you have to explain something and it takes 5 tweets.
Yeah, it's real dumb, but
and then Microsoft's over there going,
it works.
Play it through smart delivery.
Yeah,
like
no, it's not even play it through smart delivery.
It's not to the.
It just works.
People are waiting for Microsoft to go, here's how you take your game from Xbox One to Xbox Series.
There's
like the commercial.
Did you see that? Someone recreated that video
with the Xbox. With the Xbox One logo and the Xbox Series logo.
It's annoying, but it's not difficult. So I did that.
Okay, all right, stop. Wait. It's annoying, but it's not difficult. But what if you didn't have your PS4 version downloaded? Because you have a data cap.
So it's funny though. I transferred the save.
I'm truly not trying to be argumentative here. I'm just trying to.
So here's a funny anecdote about that. When you do click free upgrade to PS5, the fucking PlayStation tries to download both versions of the game, even though I had the PS4 version on the external. Like, it told me, like, the download was 120 gigs. I'm like, why the fuck is it 120 gigs? And then when you click into it, it's, like, downloading both the PS5 and PS4 version, even though I had the PS4 version downloaded, and I already...
So wait. You're telling me that even if I decide to start over and I search... I bought Avengers digitally, so I search Avengers on the store. When I click download, it's going to try to download both versions?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
When you click on the PS5 upgrade one... you hit download and both boxes are checked and ready to download.
I don't know if this is worth starting over right now.
You have a chance before it like actually starts to download to like stop it and like uncheck the box. But it cracked me up when I'm just like, I already have it downloaded. Goddamn. But yeah, either way, my save transferred over, played a couple story missions. I'm like, I think my percentage is like 44% away through the story.
Cool.
I just crack up though when I loaded it and the game was just like being like, we introduced this feature, and like it has like a bunch of the different pop-ups that go through, and I'm just like XXXXX because I don't give a fuck about the games for service stuff. Like I just
there's a couple groups that I'm part of, like that I've been added to by Facebook friends, like that are like spend a lot of time like talking about WandaVision and spend a lot of time talking about Falcon and Winter Soldier, and they're just Marvel fans in general, and there was a discussion around the game, and like I've heard that this game has got bad reviews, and I'm like, my understanding, and I haven't played it fully, is that as a story-driven single-player game, it's actually pretty good. As a games as a service, it's really bad.
Yeah. There's too many different currencies. There's too many things that they're trying to get you to do. It's just like, just let me... And some of the missions are just kind of too open to where it's just like, oh, this is just so me and co-op friends can just have a good time and just beat up bad guys.
And there's a lot of conversation going on around it now, too, with like the Black Panther expansion. And people are going to be like, is there going to be a different enemy that we're going to fight? Because you're fighting AIM a lot.
Yeah.
Like, all the time.
Yeah. I'm enjoying the game. I appreciate that the load times are way faster because the load times sucked.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
They're seconds now, and it looks better, runs better.
So maybe I'm only like 2 hours in at that point in time. Then
you might be, because I feel like every time there's a load screen, it would be like 2.5 minutes of loading. So I'll probably finally finish the story. This is the thing I've been holding out for. It's this thing that's going to keep me from finishing Final Fantasy VII. Is I'm going to wait till the update to PS5 comes out and finish it that way. And I really want to interact with the DLC stuff, because like the Imperfect Future thing with Hawkeye that they're advertising looks super fascinating, and I want to see. Or
the build up that they talked about with the roadmap to Black Panther looks interesting. Like these are characters and stories that I care about.
I just wish they would drop the games as a service thing, because like every time you click on something, it's like, oh, this is 1 to 4 players, and I'm just like, nope, it's 1 player. Like click, because they'll ask you like, do you want to invite companions or anything like that? And it's like, nope. Let me just play this damn game. So that's it for playing. Watching. There's like nothing new on to binge or anything like that. So I convinced Sarah to watch Riverdale again so we can make fun out of it. She stopped watching because she couldn't bear dealing with how shitty that show is. But I'm like, we haven't made fun out of a thing in a while. So we're just hate watching or laugh watching Riverdale. And it's just funny that that transition when you're watching it, because the show's stupid. The show's fucking stupid. But it's entertaining in its stupidity. Where 1 or 2 episodes, Sarah's like, this is really dumb. But then like 4 episodes into the binge, and I'm like, you want to turn it off? She's like, no, we can watch 1 more episode. Because it's just like the show consistently tops itself.
Well, I blame most of that on her being stuck inside for the last like 13 months. Yeah. I just thought about that like while you were talking. Like she probably, because I know you told me that she works from home, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So where is she gone in the last 13 months?
There's nothing that's open.
Out to eat, maybe outside eating. Well, it's been so cold, like outside eating's not really irrelevant.
Yeah. Like I'm expecting...
Sarah, if you hear, I feel bad for you. Like, you know, you're stuck in a house and then you're stuck in a house with him all the time. I love my wife, but she at least leaves. Like
me and the cats are really entertaining, so I'm sure she's fine. But yeah, so...
Sarah, it's okay.
So we just been watching...
Blink twice.
So it's just been watching Riverdale and Hell's Kitchen, because the new season of Hell's Kitchen is on, which is weird because Hell's Kitchen hasn't really mentioned COVID, and they clearly had to have shot this show last year. So it's weird seeing Hell's Kitchen doing food services.
My wife's catching up on chat. Yeah. Yeah. No. How do you feel about television shows? Again, I don't mean to interrupt you, but like, how do you feel about stuff that, you know, I know you're talking about new stuff, like this is starting to happen with some of the shows that my wife and I watch, like All Rise and SWAT and NCIS, like, and of where like COVID is starting to weave its way into these shows, and I like to use television kind of as my reality escape.
It depends on the show. Like a show like Hell's Kitchen, it's a reality show that has dinner service every episode, so I kind of want them to address COVID of just like, how are you doing the show? And you're boring like cop shows.
How would you feel like if you were like a new episode of The Office had COVID like intertwined into it?
As long as it's not a Zoom episode, where because man, a couple shows did Zoom episodes last year, and each time it was like, please no, I can't watch characters interacting in a box. It depends on the type of show. If it's a boring cop show, I could see why that would not be the most fun thing, because those shows aren't really that fun to begin with, because you're dealing with serious subject matter every fucking episode, and then they're just like, let's talk about COVID. That's probably not fun, but
it's not really like they're talking about it, but it's there. Like, and you know it's there. Like they're like the pandemic is playing a factor in the show, but it's not the focus of the show.
As someone that like works a 10-hour shift 5 days a week, and has to interact with people in masks, I don't know if I could sit there and watch a show. Like if all the characters are wearing face masks, if that was going on, I probably couldn't deal with the show.
That's not happening as much as I was expecting it to, but it's also getting to the point where I can see myself going like, that person doesn't have a mask on.
Yeah.
Like, stop it.
Dude, that's why when I'm watching Hell's Kitchen and I'm just like, they shot this? Like, was Vegas just open this entire time? Like,
yeah, like those pictures of like spring break, man. Oh, geez,
anytime,
it's like last year all over again.
So. Well, it's like I had like a client try and shake my hand last week, and I recoiled so fast. I'm just like, no, hell no, sir. Like, I'm not shaking your hand. So, and I see that
I'll fist bump.
I don't even want to do that. But like, I'll watch a TV show and I'll see people have like close interactions, and I'm just like, COVID's a thing. Like, why are they doing this? Even though the show doesn't talk about like being in a pandemic or anything like that.
Michael's breaking out tape measures on the TV. They're not 6 feet apart.
They're not 6 feet apart at all. Not at all. That's it. That's it for me for watching.
All right. Questions or comments? You can send us questions using hashtag #AskDigitalDays on all the. You can send them any of the social networks that we use. They're all linked in the description. Ben Palmer, greatest / favorite sports play from any sport of all time. Do you want to go first?
Go for it.
Okay. The first, when I read this question, the first two of them that came to mind for me, if I had to pick one, it would be the Jeter kind of like behind the back throw that he did. I'm a huge baseball fan when he was playing the Oakland A's, when he was like running across the first base line and he like threw the ball behind his back to the catcher. And then the other one that was like in a playoff game too, which is why it was such a big deal. And the other one that comes to mind immediately is Jim Edmonds' over the shoulder center field catch, where he was like had his back to him, and he was just running and he just dove out like towards the warning track and caught the ball. Kind of just prayed that it went into his mitt, and it did. Edmonds had in his career had some just tremendous catches, so he was always like super fascinating to watch. So.
For me, I mean, I have some of the Bulls stuff, but it was mostly like the after effect of them winning championships, because my neighborhood, I talked about this before, either on Patreon or on this, just like how crazy my neighborhood would get after a Bulls championship win. But two like sports memories. The first one is Mark Burley's perfect game. I forget what year that was. I forget exactly. 2007. And specifically the moment,
long time ago.
Yeah, it's been a long time since.
What, the catch at the fence? Then, right?
Yeah, a Wise, which I believe it's still to this day marked on the outfield where that catch was made, because I believe that was a ninth inning catch, and I just remember that being kind of amazing.
They put some like little plaque or graphic on the wall or something.
Yeah, I think now it's just like a yellow mark on like exactly where he was. And then my favorite is when the White Sox were in the World Series run. The dropped pitch.
Brzezinski didn't catch that ball.
No. The catcher didn't catch that ball, and Brzezinski ran for it.
That's right, yeah.
That is my favorite thing, because it was just kind of out of nowhere, and even the commentators were kind of confused on what happened. But for those that don't know, it was during the ALCS. The catcher on the other team dropped the third strike, and A.J. Brzezinski, being a catcher, knew immediately that meant he could run to first base. So there was all this confusion when it was a strike 3 and Brzezinski ran to first base, and they had to review
if I remember right, I don't really remember if it was a drop, but they really couldn't tell if he like trap caught it, like where it bounced and he caught it, or
if you look at an image, like I looked at an image right now, and you can see it's hard to tell if the ball is like dropped or if he trapped it, but it was just enough confusion that it was kind of a great moment, and it was the most AJ Brzezinski fucking play, because that was his, he was like the clever guy on the White Sox. So I always remember that one. But those are the only two that pop up outside of like Chicago Bulls stuff.
All right. Another podcast that Michael's been on a couple times, the Active Quest Show. You can follow them on Twitter at Active Quest Show. Has Dave ever played Kingdom Hearts, and MJC ever played Destiny? I think I've played a very, very small amount of Kingdom Hearts, but I'm not opposed to it.
I should send you I should send you my PS3 copy. I'm never going to use. Dave's
I'm
like,
not gonna
no.
play that.
And I have played.
It's supposed to be. I just saw some like Kingdom Hearts is coming to the PC, like the Epic Store.
Yeah, it's coming to PC for the first time.
I got some advertisement on my screen today.
Yep, and I'm horrified to know what the modding community is going to do with those character assets.
Oh, jeez.
I know, I'm scared.
The characters always interest me, so I'm not opposed to it. I just never really bought it. And then I also think that there's like before like our previous endeavor, like Josh was playing them, and like that's a lot to commit.
Yeah. Well, I think his kids were watching him play, and he was finding out that game is actually a little more complex than what you think that game is going to be in terms of the combat.
I don't think that Owen's into those characters enough to where like if I honestly thought that Owen would sit down with me for even an hour a day, I think I would do it just to kind of give everybody in the house a break. If I could hold Owen's attention for that long, I would 100% do it. So I'm not against it. I just never did it.
Yeah.
So.
And I have played Destiny 1. I put actually like 50 hours into the first Destiny game and just kind of fell off by like the second expansion for Destiny, which Dave probably knows the name off the top of his head. What is the second expansion's name?
Dark Below.
Dark Below. Yeah, I didn't get that far.
No, well, Well, Dark Below came out after Vanilla. I think you stopped. You played, if I remember correctly, you played.
I did the raid with you guys
regularly. Yeah, like it was an extra life thing. But I think that you pretty much paid like the first 3 months of Destiny, and that was it.
Yeah, I put 50 hours into it, and then by the time the expansion,
I mean, if you raided, you put enough time into. If you were able to raid, you had definitely put enough time into the base version of the game, and it's not for everybody. Like, I know it's not for everybody. And I think the Destiny that you played then is significantly different than the Destiny that we have now.
Well, my whole thing was like the multiplayer, the competitive just never really did anything for me. And then I just didn't like the grind you would have to do when a new season came out if you wanted to do like the good stuff in the expansion, which I know they've gotten better at. But I just kind of fell off when it was just like, okay, we're going to put Destiny away, or you play it religiously every day. And then when the expansion comes out, get ready to grind up again. And I just couldn't do that.
And unfortunately, that part of the same thing over and over again was very valid at that time. Yeah. I don't feel like it's kind of it's still there, but it's not as terribly in your face as it was.
Was it the third expansion, the one that like saved Destiny 1?
Well, there was two small expansions within the first year, Dark Below and House of Wolves.
And then
House
the
of Wolves is what brought some of the competitive. Taken King is kind of like been like the shining light on it, where it changed a little bit, and then same thing like with Forsaken, kind of did the same thing for Destiny 2 again, and again, right, wrong, or indifferent, the model that they're doing now apparently seems to be working. It's working well enough on me, as well as some new players and even people in our community that haven't played in a long time are coming back because of what's going on right now, or never played Destiny 1 or playing this. And I'll be really curious. They're actually bringing that raid that you did. They're bringing that raid into this game in like 2 months.
That'd be interesting.
And I'll be curious to what people perception is and feeling of that is. And like, as an example, like I tell people all the time, like, you could download and play Destiny, and I could have you doing multiplayer centric near end game stuff within a couple of days. Yeah.
Well, they also made it easy to like speed up that leveling process, but it wasn't the case in the first game. Yep, those are our questions for the week.
So again, you can send us those questions, comments using hashtag #AskDigitalDays. They don't have to be gaming related. They don't have to be sports related. They don't have to be food related. Whatever is kind of on your mind. If you want to know something about us, just send the questions using that hashtag, or just post them on Discord, post them on Facebook, and we'll find them. We'd love to have a plethora of questions, so please don't be shy if your question doesn't. If you ask one tomorrow and it doesn't show up on next week's show, Michael's got a whole document that he would like to keep, and it got small.
Yep.
So you can just just post those. You can follow us on the main account for Twitter @DigitalDaysPod. You can follow Michael @TheFirstMJC. You can follow myself @GoodDaveHunt. Facebook group, Discord channels are linked in the show notes. Please leave us a review while you're looking at the show notes. That would be super helpful. And then patreon.com/DigitalDaysGaming, $1 tip jar, $3 private channel Discord access. You still can access the regular Discord without it. And then the $3 one just gets you into a separate channel. $5 gets you the podcast 24 hours early. And $7 gets you access to the monthly episode, which we'll be recording for March here pretty soon. And you get access to the 9 or 10 of them that we've already done before. So it's a really good value. You should check it out. And then teesprings.com/DigitalDaysGaming, where you can check out some of our t-shirts. So buy a shirt, buy a hoodie. Again, leave us suggestions or feedback of what you would like to see in the store, and we can add stuff to it if you'd like. And again, if you're watching on Twitch, just check your sub to see if you have a free sub through Twitch Prime, or if you want to sub to us. Or just check, because like Baddest Page is crazy and he gives people subs all the time. And then I hope everyone has a great week. Keep moving forward.
Don't be a dick. See ya.